Good evening and welcome, everyone. We are live here at Stockton University for the Democratic primary debate between the candidates running in New Jersey's Congressional District 2. They are vying to run in the general election against incumbent Congressman Jeff Van Drew, who is running uncontested in the Republican primary. Tonight's debate is hosted by the William J. Hughes Center for Public Policy and the Press of Atlantic City. My name is Alyssa Maurice, Assistant Director of the Hughes Center. The questions will be posed by myself and Nicholas Huba, news editor for the Press. A couple questions will also come from Stockton University student and Hughes Center program assistant, Dylan Caraballo. There is a public audience here in the room with us, and this event is being streamed live on both the Hughes Center and the Press of Atlantic City's websites. It's also being carried live by On New Jersey, so thank you to our partners at ONNJ and to all the viewers watching from home. A recording of tonight's forum will also remain on the Hughes Center's YouTube channel for anyone who was not able to join us. Let's welcome our candidates. From left to right, we have Tim Alexander, Zack Mullock, Terri Reese, and Bailey Winder. Candidates will have 1 minute for opening and closing statements. The order was decided at random. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to direct questions and 30 seconds for follow-up responses as appropriate. Candidates, please be mindful of the time clock. We want to get to as many issues as we can, so we will politely remind you when your time is up. And to our audience here in the room with us, please refrain from any applause until the end. I hope everyone got it out of their system in the intros. Not only to keep things moving, but so the viewers at home can hear everyone's responses. The Hughes Center is committed to providing a forum for civil discourse and debate, so we want to thank all of the candidates for participating tonight and allowing voters to engage in the democratic process. So let's get started. For opening statements, Mr. Mullock, you will start us off, 60 seconds.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I start with a question. Do you want to win? I don't know about you, but I'm tired of South Jersey losing and being left behind. My name is Zack Mullock. I'm mayor of Cape May, and I've won the last 3 elections in South Jersey. I'm the only candidate up here who's ever won an election and held public office. I'm born and raised in South Jersey. I'm raising my family with my wonderful wife and our 3 kids. I'm proud of the work that I've done as mayor. We built a fire station, a police station, a theater, and many other things without raising taxes for 7 years. I'm mostly proud of the work that I've done in the community, building the Harriet Tubman Museum, founding the Cape May Point Arts and Science Center, and being on the Atlantic Cape Community College Foundation Board for over 10 years. I tell you that to tell you who I am and what I'm about. But most importantly, if you want to win, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Ms. Reese.
Hi, thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Terri Reese. I am a lifelong Atlantic County resident, a single mom of 2 adult children, a former family caregiver for a parent with dementia, a member of the 2nd largest industry in this state, or in our district, and I currently work for the New Jersey Department of Labor while I'm campaigning to be your next congressperson. I've also been unemployed. I've been on Medicaid. I've been without health insurance. I have literally and figuratively weathered the same storms that you all have, as have many other people in our district. I will know firsthand how the policies that are decided in Washington have affected people here on the ground. I will bring that authenticity, that true South Jersey voice into the halls of Congress so that we are no longer looked over. I am not supported by the political machine or big money donors. I'm supported by all of you here in the district. Thank you.
Mr. Alexander.
Hi, I'm Tim Alexander. I'm running for Congress because we need change. I am the only candidate who has won a Democratic primary as a declared Democrat in this district. I'm the only candidate who's gone on to earn 95,000 votes. And I would ask you, why would you want to start all over from scratch? Why would you want to have somebody have to build up name recognition that I already have? I continue to do my work in the communities as a civil rights attorney, as an activist. I have helped people all across this district with problems without the power of office, only to know that with the power of office, I could do even more. This is what I'm about. It's about public service with over 30 years as a former police officer, a prosecutor, and now a civil rights attorney. I believe in people. I believe in unions. I believe in educators. And I've expressed that over and over and over again. That's why my name is known all over this district, and that's why we're going to win not only this primary, but also in November.
Mr. Winder.
Thank you to the host and the audience. My name is Bailey Winder. I'm a fourth-generation New Jerseyan. I'm 34 years old, and if I flip this seat, I will be one of the youngest members of Congress in the country. I come from a family of service. I took my first oath of the Constitution working on Iran policy at the State Department. I advised the FBI on cybersecurity, and I most recently worked on the leadership team at USAID, working to save lives and make America stronger on the world stage. Service is not a slogan to me, it is my life's work. I'm running because Washington is broken. This is a golden age for an elite few while working families get squeezed. Members of Congress trading stocks and getting rich. Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security on the chopping block. Tech data centers coming into our community and threatening our cost of living and environment. They get rich, you pay the bill. This moment demands change. South Jersey deserves a fighter, and that is why I am running. Thank you.
Ms. Reese, the first question is for you. 1 minute on this issue, and everyone will have 30 seconds to respond.
Everyone has 1 minute to
1 minute
respond to
sorry.
these questions.
This first question is one that we received from several voters. This district will likely require Democrats to win over independents and moderate voters in the general election. Why are you the candidate best positioned to appeal beyond the Democratic base to win in this district?
The voters that I've been talking to throughout this district over the last year are looking for change. They're not looking for the same tired types of politicians that are supported by party bosses or political hacks. They're looking for somebody who's going to stand up for them because they recognize and they have lived the same experiences. They're looking for a progressive, somebody who is for bold progressive change, systemic change in our government so that we break the wheel that has been constantly going round and round and round for the last 50 years, funneling $79 trillion to the trillionaires while the working class suffers. A wheel that continues to go round and round without solving any problems, so that every 2 years our elected officials have something to run for or against. And that's what I bring here, and that's what I bring to the table. I'm a problem solver, I build relationships, and I look for the root causes of problems in order to craft those workable solutions. I'm here to enact real change for the people of South Jersey.
Mr. Winder.
Voters are sick of the same old playbook, and they're sick of both parties being entrenched and failing to listen first and talk second. We have run a campaign that has delivered by reaching people where they are, by talking to people who have felt abandoned by the politics of this district, holding town halls, but also going to grocery stores and concerts and cultural events and speaking to them on their terms. And we need to pass the baton. We need new energy. I'm not a career politician, I'm a career public servant. I'm not here to be a political hack. I'm not here to be a voice for the DNC, I'm here to be a voice for you. And pushing for term limits, calling out Democratic leadership when they fail, recognizing that both parties are not responding sufficiently to working families is how we break through, and focusing on key issues like AI data centers, corruption with trading stocks, and reaching people on their terms.
Mr. Alexander.
Thank you. Let me answer that question more succinctly. I will win over the independents because I already have. I have reached out to the independents, and they are supporting me, the largest group being Indivisible Empathy United. They have endorsed me as their candidate. Moreover, I continue to reach to independents because, as everyone in this room knows, we have more independents than we have Democrats and Republicans in this district. So we cannot win without the independents and some Republicans. That's part of our campaign strategy. And we work constantly to make sure that our messaging is going to independents. We knock doors, even now, for independents. It's great to win a primary with Democratic vote, and you can. But it's important that we take this opportunity to reach independents every single opportunity we have. That's why we knock doors on their homes. We pass out our literature to them. We make phone calls, text messages to them. It's hyper important that we win over independents. I've already begun this process, and I will continue to expand on it.
And Mr. Mullock.
I've been working with independents, Republicans, Democrats for the last 10 years. As mayor of Cape May, I've worked with everybody. And frankly, that's what people want. They want results. They want us to work with everyone, Democrats, Republicans, Independents. And we've done that, and we've gotten things done. So we've proven that you can all work together, and that's so important. I've proven leadership. So when we talk about not increasing taxes, and you know, Jeff Van Drew calls us tax and spend Democrats, I'll just say we didn't raise taxes for 7 years. We've got to get on people's levels and talk to them in their own language in South Jersey. People want South Jersey to be brought to D.C., not D.C. to South Jersey. So I think the last 2 elections, we lost by 17 and 19 points. We have to open the tent to all Democrats, all Independents, and yes, Republicans. Thank you.
Thank you. Voters consistently cite affordability as their top concern, especially here in South Jersey, which has some of the highest poverty and unemployment rates in the state. What is one thing you would prioritize to lower cost of living expenses like housing, groceries, utilities, or healthcare for families in this district? We have a series of affordability questions to come, so we'll just do 30 seconds on this to hear your personal top priority. And we start with Mr. Winder for this.
Well, these tariffs in DC are a tax on you. 95% of the price is incurred by everyone in this room. And that is a right of Congress, but it's only a right of Congress if they choose to use their power. Jeff Van Drew does not, but when we take back the House, we will end these tariffs which are jacking up the price of beef, coffee, clothes, making it more expensive to build a house. Across the board, this is totally unsustainable, and it is Congress's right to exercise that power.
Mr. Alexander.
You know, affordability is an umbrella of all the things that face everybody. And I look forward to the further discussion on this topic. But asking what policy would you pick is like asking who's your favorite child. I'll just name one. My housing policy for making housing affordable and accessible to all, regardless of their income level. That is a priority. You could go to my website, timalexander4congress.com, and you'll see the details. And more importantly, you'll see how I'm going to pay for them without raising taxes.
Mr. Mullock.
Housing, energy, and restoring ACA subsidies. That's something we can do right away. After November, we're going to see people totally struggling because of the ACA subsidies going away. So as soon as I'm in Congress, that's one of the first things that we're going to do is restore ACA. Energy, we have to reinvest in renewable energy. Energy is one of the reasons, and housing, that we built the middle class. Those are 2 issues that I will push very strongly as your congressperson.
Ms. Reese.
My #1 priority for affordability right now would be restoring the ACA subsidies and solidifying Medicaid so that we can provide health care to the people who have lost it due to the One Big Beautiful Bill. The second thing, and I know we're going to be talking about this even more, would also be restoring the clean energy credits too, because we need those clean energy in order to put more energy into the grid in order to lower our utility costs.
Thank you.
The next question will start with Mr. Alexander. Energy costs are top of mind to South Jersey residents as they grapple with rising utility bills, but many voters, especially Democrats, also support long-term clean energy goals. How would you balance the need to increase supply to keep utility bills affordable in the short term while transitioning toward reduced dependence on fossil fuels?
I plan on authoring a bill that will require energy companies to do their own investment into the electrical grid, not using the so-called delivery fees, which is requiring us to pay for them. Somebody did a great analogy. It's like tuning up the pizza delivery guy's car every time he brings you a pizza. The reality here is that Congress hasn't held one single hearing on this topic. We need to have the energy officials brought in. My bill that I plan on authoring will require that when they post these record profits every quarter, a percentage of that has to go back into the grid for development so that we could get rid of these delivery fees or whatever they want to call them. This is just a gimmick in order to increase the cost. If it's that bad, they should not be posting the profits that they're capable of posting. That goes also for fossil fuel, and I hope we could talk about that a little bit later. Thank you.
Mr. Mullock.
Well, first we need to restore the solar renewable energy credits immediately. And you know, I say this from experience again. As mayor, we had put solar panels on top of our municipal buildings. As a small business owner, we put solar panels, one of the largest solar panel installations in our county, on our business and on my home. You know, in South Jersey, we have 3 nuclear power plants in South Jersey, but almost all of that electricity goes out of South Jersey. It doesn't stay here. We have renewable energy that's being made here but not staying here. And as Tim just said, look at your delivery fees. It's incredible. So we need to work on all of the above, go full steam ahead with solar, and yes, make sure that I agree with the governor who just allowed for another nuclear generation site. Thank you.
Ms. Reese.
Thank you. First, we need to end all the subsidies that go to the fossil fuel companies that continue to wreak havoc on our climate. Reinvest those subsidies into clean energy initiatives with solar first, because it's the easiest to put back into the grid and the fastest. We also need to do an assessment on how the profit structure is for our utility companies right now, including not only how they are spending their profits, but their executive compensation and their stock buybacks. It's time that the people with all of the money start putting their money where their mouth is and helping to support the working class instead of the working class funding their lifestyles.
Mr. Winder.
We need legislation that fights back on monopoly rate hikes, because every single month our bills are spiking. We need to protect clean energy tax credits and also make the case to South Jerseyans that this is not just about the environment, this is also a pocketbook issue. And we have data centers coming into our community without any guardrails, without any protections. That is unacceptable. I join others at city council meetings, holding a rally, and calling for a national moratorium on data center development until we have protections for our cost of living, our utility bills, the environment, and transparency. The Vineland data center, 20 million gallons of water a year, 45 football fields in size. Jeff Van Drew took donations from the very developers of this. So we also have to get corruption out of the relationship between politics and energy. But these data centers need to be paused until we can put the community first instead of corporations thousands of miles away.
Thank you. We're going to turn to healthcare costs now. The New Jersey Department of Health released a 2025 report that highlighted the rising healthcare costs in this state. It also found geographic disparities with lower than average performance on quality indicators concentrated in this region. What actions would you support to lower costs and improve health outcomes for residents in this district? And for this one, we start with Mr. Mullock.
We're the richest nation in the world, and yet we have some of the worst health care. Millions of people who are underinsured or uninsured. And we're paying more than any other country for our health care. Our prescription drugs are more than anywhere else in the world. I am for Medicare for all who want it. If you want to keep your private insurance, that's fine, but I completely support Medicare for all, and we need to push that in Congress.
Ms. Reese.
I also support Medicare for all as a stepping stone to true universal health care. Our health insurance in this country is not designed to keep people well, it's to keep them sick. I'm for a comprehensive, equitable, and affordable plan that covers the entire person, their eyes, their teeth, their ears, as well as full mental health resources, reproductive care for both genders, and long-term care for our seniors as well. As we move to universal health care, we know from our other countries, other developed countries, that it is cheaper for us to have universal health care than the current system that we have now, which enables companies like Universal Healthcare to get $18 billion in profits, while the American people have $625 million in medical debt.
Mr. Winder?
I fully support a path to universal health care, and I also recognize that the most urgent needs are funding Medicaid. Jeff Van Drew was the deciding vote on the Big Beautiful Bill, a $1 trillion cut to Medicaid, the largest in U.S. history. We need to make sure Medicare does include dental, hearing, and vision, and also that the government can negotiate with Big Pharma in a way that puts patients first. Remember when the price of insulin went down because of pressure? Why don't we do that with other drugs? Take that same aggressive stance. Another thing I'll say is it is shameful that veterans do not get the care that they deserve. There are more than 35,000 in this district, and we need to make sure that the VA is funded. And one thing I propose is mobile clinics for the VA. This district is big, and we have people having to go to Wilmington and Philadelphia for a small procedure. That is not a way to honor those who have sacrificed so much in service of our country.
Mr. Alexander.
Okay, now let me answer the question. We have to recognize that health insurance lobbyists have pushed health care to an untenable point in cost and service. We have to open up Medicare for all. We have to bring in all the special subsidies into one program, so you don't pay for parts A through D. And if we do this and we open up that everybody could buy it, I use myself and my wife as an example, we currently pay $1,600, well, 15 something for our health insurance and then more money for our dental and eye. If we go into our models show us that if we are able to buy into Medicare, we will basically spend almost half of what we're currently spending. In addition to that, as you go to younger people buying into it, it strengthens the program, so eventually people with 64 and older, or 65 and older, will no longer have to pay any additional fees because they've already paid into it their whole working life. That's the first step to Medicare for All. That's a sensible program that doesn't require anyone to pay for anything extra.
Thank you. These next two questions will come from Stockton student and Hughes Center program assistant Dylan Caraballo.
Good evening, candidates. Thank you for your time and being here tonight. My first question is, for many young professionals in the state, the rising cost of rent and home ownership has made it very difficult to build financial stability or remain in the communities where they grew up. What specific federal policies would you prioritize to make housing more affordable? Mrs. Reese, we'll start with you.
Thank you. One of the things that we need to do at the federal level is to reinstitute first-time homebuyer initiatives, as well as low-interest grants that allow first-time homebuyers and young people to move back into their communities. But the issue is this: we don't have the supply of homes that we need that are affordable. Right down the street from where I lived in Northfield, we have $789,000 condos going up in Linwood. We don't need more $780,000 condos. We need more apartments and townhouses and condominiums and homes that are built for first-time home buyers. And not only that, but for our seniors who are downsizing as well. Right now, it's also an affordability with how much people make. We need a living wage. Right now, our minimum wage in New Jersey is $15.92. However, a living wage here is $24.50. We need to make sure that costs equate with the wages of people.
Mr. Winder.
When we've asked college students when they think they'll be able to buy their first home, they raise their hand at age 50, 60, maybe never. The reality is South Jersey right now is barely affordable for any young people. So we need to introduce property tax credits that are specifically designed to help those get their first home, their starter home. Eliminate the tariffs that are making it more expensive to build. Cutting down on red tape and bureaucracy, because the reality is some regulations are there to protect the community, some regulations make no sense. I don't care what party came up with them, we have to apply critical thinking to the way that we build. And also recognize that private equity companies are buying up properties by the tens of thousands without any checks. You know who supports that? Politicians who take corporate PAC money from that industry. That has got to end. We need to make sure that house buying is designed to work for working families and not for huge corporations that are not invested in South Jersey.
Mr. Alexander.
My family was very economically depressed. We were poor growing up. My mom qualified for a program offered by HUD that she could get a house. It was brand new construction, and part of her rent would be held back for 5 years to go towards a mortgage down payment. My mom, at 5 years, qualified for a mortgage, and she owned that house, remodeled it, and eventually sold it after she retired. I want to bring that program back with a lot of caveats. One, what's considered low-income housing today is nothing like what I grew up in. They're beautiful homes, front, back, and inside. In addition to that, we cannot rely on the same old determination of what is low income. We must raise that number up to over $100,000 for a family of four. Lastly, we also need to open this program up to single people without children so that they could qualify. The whole basis of why the rents are so high and housing so high is because of lack of competition. This is the government's job to create that competition to drive down the cost of both rent and mortgages.
The average age for the first-time home buyer now is over 40 years old. Home ownership is one of the backbones of the middle class. It's what made people have wealth and come into the middle class. One thing we have to do right away is get rid of these hedge funds that are purchasing up thousands and thousands of individual homes. So that is something that I would look to stop immediately. This is another one, though, where this isn't a canned speech for me. This is something that I've actively worked on for the last 5 years. In Cape May, we have a housing authority. For the last 5 years, I've been working with that housing authority to build $40 million worth of new homes. I've had to go through the government red tape and bureaucracy that is exactly the government red tape and bureaucracy that I will be taking on in Congress. It's what has prevented local municipalities from building. We need to cut that red tape and get to building homes.
Ms. Reese.
All right. College affordability remains a major concern for young voters and their families as student loan debt continues to rise. What should Congress do to make higher education, workforce training, and career pathways more accessible and affordable? Mr. Winder, you can start.
We need to return funding to the student loan repayment plan, and that is something that Trump has gone after because he is out of touch with working families, and he has folks like Jeff Van Drew who are merely a rubber stamp. We also need to recognize that not everyone does a four-year college. Vocational programs are a huge part of our economy. They result in folks going into well-paid union jobs. So we have to look at education in a comprehensive way, with vocational schools getting benefits. Also, it would be useful if the Department of Education was functioning, if it was not dismantled unconstitutionally, if it was not used as a weapon by Donald Trump. This is the best investment that we can make in South Jersey's future, so we need to bring in public education dollars that make sure that they reach South Jersey. Too often, we get forgotten when it comes to dollars coming to the state. That is going to end when we have better leadership after November.
Mr. Alexander.
Let me be real clear about this. We need to suspend and erase every single student loan out there. We need to start over again with a more structured program to prevent people from going into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and we need to get rid of interest rates on student loans. This is going to increase our economy, and you cannot argue today that we do not have the money for this when we are bombing countries and blowing up boats and funding genocide across the country, or the world, excuse me, spending billions of dollars. We spend over $1 trillion on an airplane that don't fly after 20 years of development. This, for whatever reason, is not a priority for Jeff Van Drew, Donald Trump, or Congress, and it needs to be. And we need a voice in Congress that's going to fight for it. Make this a clean break, start over again, and let's come up with a more fair solution for people who want to pursue both college or vocational training can borrow the money to get it done without going into years of debt.
Thank you. Mr. Mullock.
Again, something that I'm not just going to talk about, it's something I've done, something I've worked on for the last 10 years and over 10 years at Atlantic Cape Community College. You know, this is providing an education to people who maybe otherwise could not afford it. It's giving people an opportunity. And it's very much the same way with job training. Go to Salem County. Those folks aren't looking for a handout. They're looking for a job. It's the same thing with our college students. They're not looking for a handout. They're looking for opportunity to better themselves. One thing that I would support immediately is 0% interest rate on all college loans. I know there's been a big argument about forgiveness and not forgiveness, but frankly, anyone who's paid college loans lately know that some of the interest rates are over 25%. It is crushing people. Get rid of those predatory loans and get it to 0%. Thank you.
So one of the things I say repeatedly is that we don't have a money problem in this country, we have a priorities problem. And this is one of the biggest examples of that. So again, college tuitions have not kept up with wages. And what we need to do, as Bailey had said, was reinvest and get a functioning Department of Education there so that they can actually oversee the student loan programs, to oversee and expand the Pell Grants too, and eliminate the student loan debt that's out there where we have people who have already been paying their student loan debt for over 10 to 15 years and still owe 6 figures on it due to the predatory lending practices. And for career pathways, partnering with our unions so that we can offer those students who are into the trades to continue moving forward and expand their education to become business owners in themselves. One of the examples I use is the Pennsylvania Institute of Technology, where students can study tradecraft and after 2 years have their associate's degree, and after 4 have their have their bachelor's degree and know how to run their own business.
Thank you.
The next 2 questions are focused on immigration and work visas. We're going to start with you, Mr. Alexander. South Jersey's economy depends heavily on industries like agriculture, tourism, and seasonal businesses that often rely on immigrant and temporary visa workers. Do you believe Congress should expand these visa programs, reform them, or move toward a different approach to meeting the labor needs of this district?
We need to restore and expand, and we need to help people actually on a pathway to citizenship if they so choose it. I know this is not precise, I want to make sure I answer that question, but we also need to abolish ICE. They are not law enforcement. As a 27-year veteran of law enforcement, I could tell you it's offensive to call them law enforcement. Some of these people went from prison to being an ICE agent. That is despicable. 42 days of training where we have to have weeks and weeks in order to be law enforcement. So yes, I want to expand the ability for people to be able to be migrant farm labor. We know that that program, it wasn't just for the United States. Some of those workers travel multiple countries as seasons present themselves. We have to do this. Look, we're paying crazy amount of money in the grocery stores because we can't get people to get out and do the work in the fields. We have to get smart here. This is why we don't need millionaires in government. They don't have these pains, and they don't get it.
Mr. Mullock.
You know, people have come to me in fear as mayor, and, you know, we've had to have reminders to people about what our local police department does. Our local police department does an excellent job. If they hear about someone who is a violent criminal, regardless of immigration status, they go arrest them and they take care of it. That has happened for decades. That is what happens in Cape May, and that is what happens in all of South Jersey. Clearly, we need a pathway to citizenship. We need a pathway to citizenship so that people can actually be here legally. You know, a president once said that immigrants are what make this country great. That president's name was Ronald Reagan. We need to get back to a compassionate and respectful country. These are the people that, yes, are in our hotels and our restaurants, doing our landscaping, and they're good people and part of our community and part of our churches, etc. They're good people, and we should have a pathway to citizenship.
Ms. Reese.
Thank you. So yes, our migrant workers, our immigrants, and our student workers during the summertime are vital to many of our industries across our district. And we need to make sure that they have protected work, that they are protected as workers here as well. Our South Jersey economy depends on these workers, and we need to expand those visa programs. Many of these students, though, they're here for the summer, and I know that I had hired some of them when I worked in retail. They were here for the summer, and then they went back home to their families, and it was a wonderful experience for them. As somebody who had the privilege of being able to spend a year abroad in Italy, being able to go into another country and learn their customs and their culture and then bring it back makes for a better world overall. They're also supporting their families, whether they're the student workers or the migrants. Most of their money ends up going back home to where they're from in order to help their families continue to move forward.
Mr. Winder.
Our immigration system was already broken as a country, and now families are afraid to show up at school, at work, at church. It is ridiculous and it is offensive, and yes, it disproportionately attacks the South Jersey economy, the folks we depend on to do the work to make our part of New Jersey stronger. ICE is abusing their power because Congress is not doing its job, and that is going to end when we make some changes after November, because the reality is their budget is out of control. They believe they have total immunity. There is nothing legal about that. I trust local law enforcement over someone coming in from outside believing they have local immunity, total immunity. And we do need to make sure that we spend money to strengthen adjudication at the border, invest in technology. We want a secure border, but we also want people to be treated in a way that is humane, where they can go through a process the right way. Right now, it's a guessing game every day of the week, and it is out of control.
The second question on this issue, we'll start with Mr. Alexander again. Can you also speak to any reforms you support for immigration enforcement, as recent actions by ICE have many immigrants in the district feeling uneasy?
Well, I've already tipped my hand on that one, huh? So the reality is this, I'm gonna reiterate, we need to abolish ICE. Let me tell you, to be a police officer in the state of New Jersey, you have to have a background check, a mental health screening, a physical, 28 weeks of academy training, followed by 6 to 8 weeks with a field training officer, a senior person. And there's still no guarantees that you're gonna be ready for the street, and they may have to recycle you with field training. With respect to ICE, as I said earlier, 42 days. The head of the Proud Boys, who was serving a prison time for his actions at January 6th, assaulting law enforcement, is now an ICE agent. If that's not proof that this organization needs to go, I don't know what is. And when I was on task force and we worked with Customs and Border Patrol, we had effective investigations. We did not humiliate anyone. In fact, we didn't target immigrants. We were targeting things coming over our borders illegally. That's what Customs and Border Patrol is about, and that's what we should return them to.
Mr. Mullock.
I started this campaign with a letter in regards to what happened in Minneapolis and the murder of Alex Preddy. It was so clearly a trampling of our Constitution, a trampling of our states' rights, and ignoring judicial orders. Masked agents showing up at elementary schools, scaring people. It's just absolutely insane. Yes, we need to reform ICE. ICE existed under Obama and Biden, clearly, and I do think it needs to be majorly reformed. But you know, another example I give from Minneapolis was the local police there had arrested 900 people involving a gun. None of them resulted in any injuries. So as Tim just said, training is a major portion of this, and our local police departments are doing an excellent job.
Ms. Reese.
Thank you. Right now, we're spending $170 billion over the next 5 years in order to militarize our immigration system, and that money could be much better allocated and spent for compassionate, humane immigration reform that provides a path to citizenship. And especially for people who have been here for years that are members of our communities, they deserve this chance to continue their path going forward. We need to reverse the decrease in funding for our immigration courts and justices. Many of these people who have been taken lately into the detention centers have been apprehended or literally kidnapped from their court hearings and not allowed to move forward. And I do believe that ICE needs to be abolished as it is, because it certainly isn't doing anything right or following due process. And frankly, I think that they all need to receive their own due process and be prosecuted for their crimes against humanity.
Mr. Winder.
Respecting the Constitution cannot be seen as optional, but right now it is. I don't know about you. I don't have faith in the Supreme Court in this moment, so it's Congress's job to bring that back. And ICE, in its current form, cannot stand. Congress needs to use its job with the power of the purse to use that leverage to demand oversight, to say you do not get more money for immigration enforcement until you make sweeping changes. Because the reality is, we feel the outrage here in our community. People showing up to work wondering if they're going to make it home at night. Americans being shot in cold blood. The outrage is here in South Jersey and across the country. It is not there in DC because they are disconnected, because they are not hearing from folks and doing town halls and understanding what this moment is about. This is a threat to all of us. It is not just a threat to a select few, and this administration is also using this to push their own cultural agenda, which is disgusting.
Thank you. As the increased use of artificial intelligence drives a nationwide boom in data center development, communities here in the district and across New Jersey are concerned about higher energy demand and environmental impacts, and they're also concerned about job displacement due to AI generally. When it comes to AI, what responsibility do you believe the government has to regulate this technology? What policies would you support to ensure communities and workers are not paying the price for AI expansion? And we start with Mr. Mullock.
Well, first off, you can't be taking money from big tech, investing in big tech, and then expect them to take on big tech in your candidate. That's number one. AI is a major, I'm not going to call it a problem. There could certainly be some good to it, but it certainly could be bad. And what we're allowing to happen right now is bad. Using too much water, taking from the energy grid. But two other things besides the physical plants. I just want to say quickly, I am for a moratorium until we have those things better understood. Water, energy use, et cetera, community, but two things I want to point out that are going to be so big for your next candidate for Congress is algorithms and intellectual theft. The largest corporations in the world are stealing musicians, stealing authors, intellectual stuff without being paid for it.
Thank you.
We need better laws.
Thank you. Ms. Reese.
I think, or I know, the government has to place an immediate moratorium on the building, the expansion, and the use of AI moving forward. AI has been around for a while, and it isn't going to go anywhere. It's just that right now what we have been seeing is just an explosion of them popping up all over the place, where it's almost like whack-a-mole. Utah is having one that's being built that's going to use 2 to 3 times the amount of energy that the entire state uses at this point in time, and they're already seeing drought levels in the Great Salt Lake being below standards. But we need to have a responsibility to our communities. Our communities have value, our people have value, our labor has value. And these huge behemoths that are coming in here, there must be a moratorium that allows for environmental impact studies, health impact studies, community impact studies, and infrastructure impact studies as well, so that we make sure that they're not taking away and destroying our communities, because once that happens, it's going to be next to impossible to get them back. It's time to stop the corporate extraction and make them pay for what they want to do instead of putting the burden on the taxpayer.
Thank you. Mr. Weiner.
The massive data center in Vineland, one of the largest on the East Coast, started being built without community support. I went to the city council, I asked a question, and the response was a threat of a lawsuit for slander. That is the message politics is sending right now to communities, because it is broken and it is corrupt. We do need a short-term national moratorium on data center development until regulations can come into place that protect our utility bills, that protect our environment with independent reviews, and that make sure that there are disclosures to communities before these projects are underway, before it is too late. Once they go up, that ship has sailed. And I just spoke before we came in here with a teacher who's in his first year. Education is dealing with AI right now in a way where we need congressional oversight, we need congressional hearings, and I do not see that out of DC right now. That needs to change. Students are terrified of this moment, and they need and deserve support.
Mr. Alexander.
So let me get to the issue quickly. One, we in Congress have the power of the purse. If these data centers are receiving funds from the federal government, we get to impose restrictions. There has to be a national standard on environmental impact that is designed for data centers. There has to be a rule of replenishing through renewable energy the energy that they're taking out of the grid. These will make them better partners. And when we look at the environmental impact, it's just not the drain of the water, it's the noise, it's the electricity, and it's the bright lights that they shine all night long. Now, let me clear something up, because my running mate, or my opponent, Mr. Mullock, is very polite. Mr. Winder is invested in these data centers, and he's drawing a dividend check. The bottom line is, you cannot argue that you are opposed to this program when you're benefiting from it. So go ahead and take your 30 seconds and respond.
Everyone, please refrain from applause. We want the viewers at home to be able to hear what the candidates are saying. Mr. Winder, you get 30-second rebuttal on this.
This is a lie, and Tim knows it. I'm not invested in AI data centers. I asked so many questions, I got threatened with a lawsuit for slander. I have led the charge in this primary on fighting back on this issue. We set up a rally with other organizations, and a few days later, the Vineland City government pushed back a vote to expand the data center. So it is laughable that I am not pushing on this issue. I'm not in the pocket of big tech. I'm here to hold them accountable, and in Congress, I will not own any stock at all.
I'm sorry, is that a
again.
lie? Because it's on the FEC. I would invite every single one of you to read his FEC.
I appreciate the spirited debate, everyone. Again, just want to ask you to refrain from applause just so people at home can hear what the candidates are saying. Thank you, everyone.
The next question will be from Ms. Reese to start. The war in Ukraine, the conflict in the Middle East, and tensions with China are reshaping U.S. foreign policy. What should America's role in the world look like under Democratic leadership?
Can you repeat the question? I had trouble understanding it.
The war in Ukraine, the conflict in the Middle East, and tensions with China are reshaping U.S. foreign policy. What should America's role in the world look like under Democratic leadership?
Thank you for repeating it for me. The role needs to focus on diplomacy over military strength. I'm a humanist, and I believe people matter more than anything. And what we need to look at when we're going into these conflicts or being drawn into them by third parties that are looking to expand their land grabs or to profit off of them is to how are these going to hurt people or how are they going to help people and who is making the money off of it. We need to lead with conversation, with dialogue, that we're making sure that humanitarian needs are met and that we aren't going to be funding or sending arms to regimes that are perpetrating human rights abuses. People come first, and we owe it to ourselves and the world in general to make sure that we are leading with compassion, that we are leading with dignity, that we are leading with strength and true leadership, and not just going into armed conflicts and putting our service people in harm's way. It is time that we stop looking for the military-industrial complex to make money off of the suffering of other people.
Mr. Winder.
We need to pass the War Powers Act. We definitely need to fire Pete Hegseth, and we need to have a foreign policy that actually puts America first. Invading Venezuela for the benefit of Chevron executives makes no sense. Going to Iran with zero game plan makes even less sense. I served on the Iran policy team at the State Department. When Donald Trump tore up the nuclear deal, I was there in the headquarters. What do we have right now compared to that deal? Nothing. With billions of dollars spent, with members of our military facing the ultimate sacrifice. We are losing credibility, and our competitors are eating our lunch. It is out of control, and we need to reinvest in USAID. I was proud of the work that we did. It was work that made America stronger here at home and internationally. And right now, the approach is break things and worry about the consequences later. That's exactly where Congress comes into play and has to do their job.
Mr. Alexander.
Just a point of clarity. The question was about China, Ukraine, and Gaza, correct?
The Middle East, yes.
In the Middle East, thank you. So I want to stay focused on the fact that we should never be funding a genocide, plain and simple. We must take care of our NATO allies. That's why we should be helping Ukraine even greater. We have to recognize that we made a promise to Taiwan decades ago, and we must be clear and standing up and make it no ambiguity that we still support and will defend the people in Taiwan. And when it comes to the Middle East, it's an illegal war, and we need to immediately cease all operations. And quite honestly, if you are responsible for bombing and taking 128 innocent lives of children, we have to really rebuild and pay reparations for that because it's absolutely disgusting. Iran is our enemy. Let's make no bones about it. They are not our friend, and all these little Lego videos don't change that. But we cannot become the villain in defending the world, and that's what we're looking like right now.
Mr. Mullock.
You know, Van Drew just voted for the war in Iran. In the House, it passed by one vote, just like the big, beautiful bill. So if you don't think this election is important, know that we're in Iran now because Jeff Van Drew voted for it again. We went into this war with no clear objectives. We went into it without congressional approval. We have to rely on working with our NATO allies and all of our allies. You know, I laugh at this, but somehow we're fighting with Canada right now. You know, and you couldn't ask for a better neighbor. It's like the neighbor you all look for. And I'll say one thing about Canada, too. We all know tourism is our #1 industry in South Jersey. They represent 10% of our tourism. It was down 8% last year just because of this petty baloney that we have going on with Van Drew and Trump. Both of my grandfathers fought in World War II. My father was in the Army. They taught me that we need to support our allies and those treaties.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Reese.
I started the
Oh,
question.
excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right, so this next question was also submitted by a voter as well. Seniors account for 22% of this district's population, about that. What actions would you support to ensure the solvency of programs like Social Security and Medicare? And we start with Mr. Winder on this.
Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid right now are all under threat, and we saw what the big beautiful bill did for Medicaid, $1 trillion cut. What is going to happen when Trump wants to privatize Social Security? You need a Congress that will stand up. We can't just have Band-Aid solutions for this issue. It is too fundamental to too many people. It is the promise that this government makes to working families. When you retire, you get these benefits and they keep up. We also need to take off the cap on Social Security because that is something that is making it even harder to invest in the system in the long term. It's a program right now that benefits the ultra wealthy and it makes it even harder for working families to get that support. It should be the other way around. So we cannot play games when it comes to these three core programs, and we need to recognize that senior health care, you're right, it does not get enough attention. It deserves far more.
Mr. Alexander.
So I heard a great idea on this campaign, and I give credit to it. Terri Reese proposed raising the caps on Social Security. And I did some research and found out that that actually is an excellent idea because, one, it will make it solvent for the next 75 years, and two, we can actually pair Social Security payments to the cost of living by raising the caps. Currently, if you make over $184,000 a year, you don't have to pay into it anymore. That needs to stop immediately, and that way we'll shore up Social Security. I've already proposed my plan for Medicare and with the expansion, which will also make that stronger. And let's not forget that the one big BS bill will also cut Medicare payments after November. So it's a little forward-looking, folks. Nothing good's coming out of that bill for the average person. It's only designed for the ultra-wealthy. And with respect to all these programs with our seniors, we can do them without raising taxes beyond Social Security, lifting the Social Security cap. Thank you.
Mr. Mullock.
Social Security is one of the most successful trust funds in the entire world. You know, Trump the other day said that we can't afford child care, Medicare, and Medicaid because we have to pay for war. And I want you all to know where I stand in that scenario. I will be ending the war and supporting Medicare, Medicaid, and child care. You know, the first half day of every Monday of your working life goes towards Social Security. The first half day of every Monday, it's your money. They're going to try to convince us that it needs to be privatized. It doesn't. Yes, it's $100 billion underfunded. But you know, it's also underfunding the checks that are sent out. The average check is $2,000. The average cost per month for the average household is $4,000. It's not keeping up with the cost of living. So not only do we need to protect Social Security, but we need to increase the cap above $184,500.
Thank you. Ms. Reese.
Hi. So thank you to my colleague for recognizing that I've been talking about this since I started campaigning last year, and it is very personal to me. My mother made $2,400 a month in Social Security, which is $200 more than what she would have qualified her for Medicaid, and one of the reasons why I left my job in order to become her full-time caregiver. And there are many stories like that throughout our entire district. So yes, we need to lift the payroll tax cap. It's one of these, this is one of those issues that our politicians like to just beat down the road, you know, kick the can down the road instead of solving it for a long term because they need something to run for or against every 2 years. But in addition to that, and to lifting the payroll tax cap, we also need to make sure that Social Security keeps up with the cost of living and not just the COLA increases that end up being a small percent, and then their Medicare increases go up more so they don't get any. We need to look into possibly even going for a universal basic income for our seniors so that they can retire in dignity.
Thank you, everyone.
30 seconds on this question. We'll start with Mr. Alexander. Spirit Airlines recently closed its doors due to a variety of issues. The airline was a major part of business at the Atlantic City International Airport. What can the federal government do to ensure the success of the airport and improve transportation access more broadly for residents in the district?
So this is something I've been talking about for years. You know, Spirit Airlines, when it was there, was not a high-functioning airline. We need to expand the airport and bring in more terminals, more flights. But the thing we have to do is make sure we have infrastructure to get people off the planes to their destination. I proposed long ago, and I stand by it, a light rail from the airport to Atlantic City. I propose that we make it easy for people to get off just like when you go to Atlanta, you get off the plane, you get right on the light rail after you get your luggage, get to your destination. And we could talk about what we could do with Atlantic City when it comes up.
Mr. Mullock?
It was a massive failure by Van Drew to let this happen. and Trump to let this happen. And it's part of this economy that we're dealing with now. You know, transportation has been a major problem for all of South Jersey, and especially for veterans. Veterans who simply want to get to their doctor's appointments. You know, in the next 10 seconds, the last thing I'll say is insurance. Insurance rates are skyrocketing for the average drivers, cab drivers, so that is one thing that I would work on immediately.
Ms. Reese?
So regarding the Spirit Airlines, yes, the federal government is responsible for taking care of and protecting its citizens as well as its businesses, and especially something that affects so many people all over the place, such as air traffic. We saw with former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg that he had instituted some policies that allowed the consumers to get money back that were taken from the airlines when they canceled flights, and now this administration doesn't. We need to put those processes back so that the people are put first over the profits of these airline industries.
Mr. Winder?
Well, part of the issue with Spirit is that gas and fuel prices spiked out of control because of the Iran war. That war never should have started in the first place. If Congress was doing its job, it would not have. We also need to recognize that the airport and the FAA go hand in hand. We need to stand with our public sector workers here in NJ2 and make sure that the FAA is protected. I talked to folks who work there. They're terrified about their future, and invest in sustainable public transport options that also strengthen our environment here.
Thank you, everyone. We are running very short on time, so we are going to try to squeeze in a few rapid-fire questions around congressional ethics and institutional reform. So please just answer with a yes or no.
Several states across the country are redrawing congressional maps mid-cycle. Would you support legislation to prevent this matter from happening, to prevent this, no matter which party stands to benefit from the redrawn maps?
We'll go down the line. Mr. Alexander.
Yes, pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
I agree with pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, stop gerrymandering.
Yes, it should be nonpartisan. Stop gerrymandering, pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
In the short term, we need to fight fire with fire. In the long term, ban on political gerrymandering, and pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
Let's try to keep it to yes or no. We got to squeeze in closing statements, everyone. Go ahead.
Would you support expanding the Supreme Court?
Mr. Alexander.
That's not a yes or no, but look, my program would expand the court. I'll say it that way.
Yes, down the line. We're going.
No, because I think Republicans will do it better than us.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you support congressional term limits?
Yes.
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 All right. Thank you, everyone. All right. So we still have closing statements. Mr. Mullock, you're going to start us off with closing statements. 1 minute.
You know, I had a prepared statement, but as I was driving up here today, there were several issues that I was reading in the news, and I just can't believe. You know, the Justice Department just awarded Donald Trump $1.7 billion in a slush fund. He has traded stocks every 7 seconds of his presidency and added trillions of dollars to our national debt. We cannot allow this corruption to continue to happen. That is why this election is so important. I am asking for your trust. I am asking for a chance to take on Van Drew. I am asking for a chance to beat Van Drew, and together we will take this country back.
Mr. Alexander.
So, as I stated in my opening statements, I'm the only candidate that has a base of supporters. I have name recognition. I'm not starting from scratch. I believe that Jeff Van Drew is an absolute domestic terror to the 2nd Congressional District, and we need to remove him, and we need to put our best option forward. We certainly don't need an outsider who can't seem to find a truthful statement in his soul, and he's managed to hoodwink a lot of people in believing that he's the real deal. For me, it's about winning this primary and going forward to face Jeff Van Drew and to close this deal that I've been working on and become your representative and actually represent you. So with that, I ask that you vote for Tim Alexander. And more importantly, we need donations. Go to the website. Please, donate if you can. Thank you.
Mr. Winder.
I'm a proud product of New Jersey Public Schools. From Vineland to Atlantic City, this is home. It is the home that my generation is supposed to be able to afford. Here's my pledge to you. I will not take a cent of corporate PAC money. I will fight for term limits, a ban on stock trading in Congress, and to overturn Citizens United. I will push back on tech billionaires that are coming into our community with tax breaks for data centers while they take our water and our electricity. We don't do this with the same old playbook as before. This moment requires new risks and new energy. I'm not a machine candidate. I'm not a career politician. I am fighting to be a voice for South Jersey. I'm Bailey Winder. I'm 34 years old, and I'm humbly asking for your support tonight. I thank you so much.
And Ms. Reese.
Hi. I am not a politician. I'm just a citizen who is tired of the same types of candidates being put forth in front of us to be elected to represent us when they have no idea what we're about. I'm a true daughter of the district. I've lived here my entire life. And as I said in my opening statement, I've weathered the same storms and had to overcome many of the same struggles as you have. We don't need candidates who are part of the same party machines, who take money from out-of-state donors, who spend money outside on big, expensive consultants. All of my money is spent here in the district supporting the small businesses that I seek to represent. I may not be the best public speaker, but those who know me know that I am thoughtful, I'm deliberative, I am an avid researcher with attention to detail, and I'm empathetic. And I've gotten to know so many people across this district that are tired of seeing people come in who don't represent them. They're looking for progressive change. They're looking for someone like me.
On behalf of the Hughes Center and the Press of Atlantic City, we want to thank the candidates for such a substantive debate. Thank you so much, and thank you to the viewers. We will see you next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.